What's up, guys? It is Nick, and today it is going to be just Nick and Tyler. And Tyler's going to do the majority of the talking because I'm going to interview, well, quote-unquote, interview him and get a rundown on what his weekly routine is, what his day in a week, or I'm saying that terribly wrong,
a day in the life? A week in the life.
A week
in the life
of Tyler Grace.
Strap in. You guys better buck because it's crazy.
Yeah,
you have a lot of fun.
5-point harness.
Yeah,
guys.
You're going to need it. I wish my life was that exciting. But Nick and I wanted to put some time aside for a couple of one-on-one podcasts based on the reception of the last one that we did. And I texted Nick this morning and was like, yo, let's give people a peek inside what our life looks like and what our routines look like. And I think that's always eye-opening, and I always enjoy hearing what other people do and what works for them and what makes them click. So that's what we're going to dig into today. We'll touch on everything from eating habits and diet to sleep to hobbies, exercise, work, how I balance my work day, how many hours or days I'm putting in a week. How I spend my time with work, social, and family. So, I
also asked Tyler why he gave up alcohol.
Yeah.
So we do get that answer in this.
Yeah.
podcast.
So hopefully it's pretty insightful. If you have specific questions, you can reach out to me directly, to Nick, to the Modern Craftsman, whatever it may be. But I think that, this has been quite a few years in the making, and I'm sure that we've gone into our own lives and kind of who we are, but I know we've brought on a lot of new listeners along this journey, and I think that at least it'll give you a little insight as to why I am the way I am and kind of how I tick. So I appreciate the listen. If it was good, great. If it wasn't, I don't care because I'm still doing it my way. Somebody said, my way is not the only way, but it's the only way you'll get from me. So I'm sticking to it.
There you go. Sounds like a pop country song.
Dude, I love pop country.
Meg sent me a video of a fox chilling in someone's house, like sitting on the windowsill.
Yeah, normally they're like very friendly. I'll send it to you.
We had two up in New Hampshire. And it was the morning. We were sitting on the couch, drinking coffee, and we look outside, and two fox are just 6 feet in front of the house.
What did they say?
And what did they say? They asked if we had any extra coffee, and I said, "Not for you."
It's the song, man.
Why do I? Oh, what does the fox say? I do know that song. I was gonna say
that's a Bob Dylan song too, I think. Yeah, normally they're like super nice.
Well, they were fighting with each other. It was like playful fighting, but it was so. And I opened the door, and Meg's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, "They will eat the dogs." I'm like,
"Wait, we've never spoken about fox on the podcast."
No.
Oh, so
why?
I feel like I've told everyone about this. We have right at the back of my property, there's a fox den.
Oh wait, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, so they have kits every year, and we'll watch them come out and they play, and the dogs get all worked up about them, but they don't bother. I don't know how they know the difference between a prey animal or a our cat, for example. Percy hangs out with a fox.
No,
dude, I swear I wouldn't. Well, maybe I would make that up, but I'm not. So
not right now.
Have you ever heard a fox scream?
Yeah.
It's a very weird sound that doesn't sound like anything else. It's super scary if you don't know what it is. And it's piercing and annoying as hell. So we would hear this fox at night, and it would be making this cry, and we didn't know why. And come to find, finally, I was like, this is just annoying the hell out of me. So I went out in my truck and turned on the lights to see what was going on, and Percy's sitting there with the fox. And any time that Percy doesn't play with the fox gets upset and barks. And so there was a couple of month period where we would have to go out in the middle of the night and bring Percy in because he would be sitting on our porch and the fox won't come that close, but he'll sit like 30 feet from our house and just sit there barking at Percy because he wants him to play and Percy doesn't want to. So we'd have to we couldn't leave, and the cat's out all the time. We would start having to bring the cat in at night because the fox would get worked up, and then the dogs hear that inside, and it's 2-3 in the morning, and the dogs are going nuts because they hear the fox barking right outside the window.
And what do the dogs want to do? Attack the fox? Or
yeah, it's just
also play.
No, I mean they will probably want to attack the fox, but playful. They're not looking to hunt, but it'd be the same thing as a cat screaming outside the window. The dogs are going to get worked up at night,
right?
But yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
So then I was I'm pretty sure that they're friendly. So I looked it up online, and with domestic animals, a lot of times fox for some reason befriend them and they don't have an issue with them. And another time I was sitting in my office desk and I look out and I'm like, oh, Percy's up in that tree. And I look below it and the fox is at the base of the tree waiting for him to come down. And then one other time I'm in my shop and I go out back and I hear all this rustling in the field next to us. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And Percy comes running out through a bunch of bushes and the fox is right behind him. Just they're just running after each other and playing. And I was like, yeah, it's a real thing.
Crazy.
They're buddies.
The last weekend we were up in New Hampshire and we started bringing Zoe, our cat.
Yeah.
And she's always been an indoor cat, and we were like, let's just see what she does in New Hampshire. And she loves it. She runs around. She does that cat run when her back is arched, and she runs like a zombie, which is the funniest. So she just runs around the yard, but always comes back in, but likes the freedom up there. And last weekend she's in the screen porch playing with a mouse.
Yeah.
I'm like, Meg's first off, you're supposed to kill those. Second off, why is it in the house and alive?
Yeah.
And and she's just sitting there playing with
They'll just toy with them. Our cat's outside 90%, 95% of the time.
Oh yeah.
And he just goes in the fields and kills stuff every day. There's just a dead animal out back of my office door, to the point where you let the dogs out, and if you don't see where they are, they're in that spot because they know that there's animal remains there that they can eat, which is disgusting.
Ugh.
But yeah, I was even this morning, we were sitting there, I was getting ready to bring the girls to camp, and Percy's in our driveway stalking a butterfly and just creeping up on a butterfly, and then finally the butterfly goes to fly away and he jumps and just smacks it midair. He's a beast.
Cats are crazy.
He's a beast. I've seen him kill a pigeon before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our growing up, our old cat, we had a little orange cat that thing would get birds all the time. I'm how are you getting?
Dude,
a bird?
I've seen him take a bird out mid-flight.
Yeah.
Just watch the whole thing go down from my office. But yeah, they don't typically go, dogs run away and they'll just run. Mm-hmm. But cats, I learned that when everyone knows the podcast where I had to go on the hunt for my cat and wound up one of the neighbors' nannies had taken it in. But they don't typically travel outside of a certain area of your home. So he's always around somewhere that when you pull up, he knows your cars and he'll just come creeping out of some dark shadow. But they're always very close. They don't get and then just run away.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why you can typically leave them out.
Boston is it's just too busy.
Oh yeah, somebody else would have a pet cat.
Well, we lost her once, and I had finally posted on the community board, and the vet who I oddly went to elementary school with texted me and said, "Hey, we know where that cat is. Someone just reported it." And so I was like, "Send me the phone number." So sent me the phone number. We called. It was 2 doors down.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what happened with us.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, she was out, and she seemed like she didn't know where she was, so I just brought her in to be safe."
Yeah, people don't. I don't know really anything about cats. This is our first cat. I'm allergic to cats, so it doesn't even really make sense because we don't he can't be inside, but he's always outside. He comes in to eat, and he'll take an hour nap and then goes back out. But people just like leave them alone. They're fine. They're not. It's not like Homeward Bound, where they're halfway across the country and don't know where they are. Like if you see a dog running loose, that's one thing. But a cat typically is like you can just leave it be. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So your daily routine ends with you pulling in the driveway, saying hi to your cat, and then reawakens at 2 a.m. to bring him in.
Yeah.
Okay.
He knows. He doesn't usually creep out for Rachel either. It's like my truck that he knows. But anytime I come home after dark, I'll shut my truck off, and then all of a sudden he'll just like slowly walk out from somewhere. I'm like, where did you just come from? Yeah. And where were you just sitting waiting for someone?
Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to dig into kind of just daily routine, what helps you, what hurts you. What a week in the life of Tyler Grace, Nick Schiffer looks like. And kind of what you've learned over the years as far as business, what kind of helps your week carry on. Then I want to dig into what your weekends look like too. So I don't know if you want to go first, me go first. I'm sure we'll kind of go back and forth. Yeah, so this has kind of changed as of recently too, because I guess with the kids getting older, Rachel's dad getting sick, and just reprioritizing life a little bit, I've switched up my schedule. So getting into business and starting out, it was work all day, work all night, go on estimates after work, get everyone their paperwork when I said they'd get that, never drop the ball, just like grind myself into the ground. And I realized I can't do that anymore. I ended up getting sick a couple times 2 years ago, which we never really found out what it was, but I attribute it to being overworked, not having enough nutrition, too much stress, anxiety. So lately I try as much as possible to be around until the girls leave for school, camp. If I have to drop them off, wait for the bus for them. I usually wake up, help Rachel around the house in the morning as much as possible. What time do you wake up? Like 6:30, 6. Not super early. I don't get to bed as early as I'd like, so I'm not like the 5 a.m. type of people. I'd love to, but I just like it'll screw my week up. So one thing for me is getting enough sleep.
Yeah. So what time are you going to sleep?
Not before 11 typically. But like
So 7 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I would get more than 8 hours. Like my body, I know I could use more than 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, if I get more than 8 hours, I'm like toast.
So like from the time I was probably 18, 17 until 2 years ago, I would go 5 hours of sleep, 4 hours, like whatever it was never consistent. Mm-hmm. So in a perfect world, I would go to sleep at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every day. But like with kids and life, and it just doesn't happen that way. I'm not as rigid, as structured as I'd like to be. So sorry, I'm going to keep cutting you off. But you typically don't go to bed before 11, and you're waking up at 6:30. So you're getting, let's just call it 7 hours because of falling. I'd say on
asleep,
average,
right?
probably.
You said if in a perfect world you would go to bed at the same time. What in your mind? What would be a perfect, like if you could go to bed at a perfect time outside of everything that life has to offer you?
I think
like what time?
I think if I could create like the ideal schedule, it'd probably be asleep by 10, up by 6. So 8 hours every night.
Yeah.
Just like guaranteed. But it's impossible to be asleep by 10 with like our kids' schedule and life.
They're up late, right?
Yeah, they don't go to sleep until like 9:30 is typically when we like start bedtime. 9:30. That's always been the case, I guess, because we both work, and getting home, getting them picked up, it's like 6:37 by the time we get dinner on the table, get them cleaned up. It's impossible to get them like and ourselves ready for the next day. So I like a little bit of me time before I fall asleep, if that's in bed or whatever it may be. So yeah, in a perfect world, I think I'd get 8 hours of sleep a night, be asleep by 10 and up by 6. But doesn't ever happen that way consistently.
Yeah.
So I drink coffee as soon as I get up. Water, typically a glass of water, and then coffee. And then I don't eat breakfast until around 10 a.m., generally speaking. So I used to eat as soon as I got up. I started kind of changing my dietary habits, and I'm eating now between 10 a.m. and ideally 7 p.m. Sometimes it'll get dragged out till like 8, but I really try not to eat after 8 p.m. either.
This podcast is brought to you by Duration Molding and Millwork.
Nick, I don't know if you've been on Duration's Instagram lately. It's Duration Molding and Millwork, all one word, no hyphens or anything. But they posted last week about like basically what would be a traditional rake or cornice detail on a house where you have your eaves and your soffits all tying in together. And a lot of times people will use a crown molding there where they wrap from, basically you're taking a vertical plane and transitioning to horizontal. And there's a couple of ways to do that. There's a few articles on that you can dig into if you want to on your own, but there's a traditional cornice detail and then what would be like a poor man's cornice detail where they're terminating, resolving that crown into a flat, and then that's your vertical portion, and then just making an outside corner that dies into. But what was traditionally done when people were more of craftsmen and taking time to do things, right now it would require a higher budget typically, is they're creating two different profiles of crown molding. So you had the vertical crown that was running down your rake, and then the crown that was on your soffits would be a different profile. So when you mitered them together, transitioning from a vertical to a horizontal, you actually have two different planes and profiles that are making that work. And Duration just posted how they were using their CNC and some software to create TrueX molding, crown molding with two different profiles to make those transitions based on a specific roof slope and a specific profile that they're tying into, which to me was crazy, because I feel like usually you're leaving that decision up to a carpenter in the field, or nobody's sorting that out, and you have somebody rolling crown or putting it together and then sanding the two profiles to make it look okay and say, hey, that's 35 feet up in the air, it's good enough. Where you can send these details over to Duration, and they can actually figure out what those two profiles need to be for your rake and your horizontal crown molding, and fabricate that in the shop for you. So all you have to do is miter it at that point. And I was super excited about that, because that's a very classic detail that I see done incorrectly a lot. And to see them taking the time to show people how, what the right way is, was pretty cool to me.
I didn't know the concept of raking crown until probably, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, and I had always wondered how you transitioned from, that front piece and then from the fascia going up to the rake. And when you realize that it's a completely different profile that just happens to work when you miter it, it's super interesting.
Yeah, because typically you need to make a vertical turn and a horizontal turn. And you guys will have to look on their Instagram, but like the easiest way to think about this would be kind of when you're coming down a wall where there's a staircase, and you're looking to wrap that same wall with trim or quarter round. A lot of times you'll notice on that skirt that it's going to have a filler that's going to transition from the vertical coming down the wall to a horizontal to be able to make that turn around the wall. It's the same exact principle with the crown molding. You cannot make that cut with a single profile of trim and just a single cut. You have to make two turns, and they're getting rid of that by milling two different profiles that'll work for you. Probably complicated. Everyone's probably super confused right now. But if you're like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. But check it out on their Instagram page. It's their last post.
Yeah, Duration Molding and Millwork for Instagram. And if you want to learn more about where to buy this stuff, durationmillwork.com. This podcast is brought to you by Rockwool. So you've heard us talk about it before, the R-Class building program. It's something that if you guys aren't already involved with, you got to get involved with. beyond just the value of, the swag box, which I talk about every week, and the free flannel shirt, which Rockwell's probably going to reach out to us and say, stop advertising that. We're running out of flannel. It's about the community, and it's about the ability to connect with not only the technical team at Rockwell, but also, some of the reps that are in the field. Dan Edelman, Nick Stone, which is a great last name for Stonewall Insulation. But they, if you're on their Instagram, Rockwell NA, you'll see that they've been out on some of these job sites, and they've actually worked with us on our job sites to make sure that our details are done well. I mean, I don't know if I've told this particular story, but we actually had 2 details on a job that we actually posted about in a video, and Rockwell's team reached out and said, "Hey Nick, FYI, you're headed in the right direction, but you made a pretty critical error." And obviously I don't like hearing that, but hey, walk me through it. And they basically sent me some details, did a sketch for me, and said these are the things you need to take into consideration. Got right back to us, and that was huge. And what that, like, they're not only there for support, but they're paying attention. Like, they're watching what we're all doing, and I can only believe that they're doing it to make sure that they're protecting our investment. Make sure that their product operates the way it should, because we don't want a failure to be blamed on a particular product. But also they understand that the challenges we're facing, if we're talking about it and seeing our projects come together. So if you guys want to join the R-Class program, rockwellna.com/R-Class. I'm sorry, rockwell.com/R-Class. Join that program, I believe, and they've already given one away. I believe that they're going to be running another promo where you can enter for the chance to win an entire house worth of insulation.
A lot of insulation.
That's a lot of insulation. I've seen an entire house get delivered, and we did not have a forklift on site. It's a lot.
Maybe they should give away a forklift.
So is it an intentional fast?
Yeah, it's called like intermittent fasting. It's not like rigid or structured. I've never really even looked much up on it. Rachel started doing it, and I was like, oh, I'll try it. And
I guess it's a great way to lose weight.
Yeah, and I think that, I always thought that like you were supposed to wake up and eat right away. But like there's plenty in your body to sustain right after you wake up, and like you don't need to fuel it as soon as you wake up. And like I feel like if I eat as soon as I wake up, I'm hungry all day. And if I wait until 10 to eat, I'm not hungry all day. So yeah, I just try and limit like the amount of hours that I can eat. So what I'm doing in the mornings, girls are getting off, I'm getting my day ready. If I have to run errands at this point, so early on in my career, I would go after work on the job. No matter what time I left, I'd stop on my way home and get what I needed, so I wasn't disrupting my mornings. It could be 9 o'clock at night. I've been in Home Depot while the doors are closing, picking up stuff for the next day. And that worked, and it wasn't an issue for me for a lot of years. And then it's just not what I want to do anymore, and I'm tired. So typically if I need to run errands or pick material up, it's prior to getting to the job. I pack a lunch for myself every day, and I pack my breakfast for the road and coffee for the road. So that's all on the job. So typically when I'm on the job, I'm not leaving the job. I don't do well when I schedule meetings in the middle of the day. If I have stuff to do in the middle of the day, I feel like it's weighing on my mind, and it kind of creates this angst within me that I feel like I'm under the gun, and I have so much to get done before I have to leave, and it's just such a waste of a day for me. So now, being that we record on Tuesdays at 3, a lot of times I'll either take all day Tuesday to get my ducks in a row, pick up what I need to pick up, get to customers, get to emails, do paperwork. If I can squeeze a half day of work in where I'm all caught up, I'll go to the job until 1:30 or so, and then get out of there, get back so we can record at 3. So Tuesday is kind of my day where if I need to get stuff done, I'll just take the whole day Tuesday devoted to Modern Craftsman and like
a floater.
Yeah, like clerical work. if I need to tidy up stuff in the shop or pick up materials, whatever. So that typically gives me about 4.5 actual on the job work days a week, best case scenario. I'm not working weekends. I never really did. I would work an occasional Saturday, and I still will if I really have to, but I very few and far between are working on weekends. I'm over it. I don't want to do it. It doesn't change my life at the end of the year. Everything's the same. So it's not worth that time with the family.
Everything financially, everything's the
I know.
same, but you're drained.
Exactly.
You don't your relationship with your wife and kids is different.
And then you have one day. Sunday for me isn't really a huge off day. Like it is and it isn't. But like Friday night, great. Saturday night, great. Just like as far as an anxiety level with work, because I just know that I'm not doing anything. So then once Sunday rolls around, I start thinking about the work week. So it's like it's an off day, but mentally I'm starting to check back in. So it's like I'm sitting in the car, the seatbelt's not strapped, but I'm getting ready to click it for Monday morning.
Right.
So I'm typically getting to the job between 8 and 9, depending on if I'm picking up materials, what I'm doing with the girls, how my morning went. And I just don't stress about that anymore. If I have to stay a little bit late, I would stay a little bit late. But like for years, I would stress being at the job by 7:45 every single day, no matter what. And it just was creating anxiety. And again, pressure I was putting on myself. I'm still getting the same amount done. I could plan accordingly and get more done than run around like a chicken with my head cut off. So that's kind of how my day starts. And then again, when I'm on the job, I typically don't like to leave the job. So that's where a lot of my efficiency comes in, where I have everything I need there tool-wise, material-wise, that I can just stay there. I listen.
Are you bringing lunch?
I bring lunch, yeah. So I'm not going out and getting lunch. I'm not going out and getting coffee. I'm typically like on the job. So if I get there at 8:30, 9, and that's like a later start for me, I can work a normal work day and I'm not taking a break for lunch. Like I'm eating lunch maybe 5 minutes and getting back to work. So I can leave at 5 and have a completely full day and get done what I need to. And that's fulfills my quota for the day. So that's kind of where that efficiency comes in. If I do need to stay late, I'm generally not working much past 5, 6 at the latest these days. Again, there's an exception to that, but I want to get off the job. I want to get home. I want to get everything in order for the next day, so I'm not working until midnight.
Are you setting goals like for those days, or is it based on time?
A little of both. So the setting goals is amazing, but if you're anything like me, you never get done as much as you want to in a day. So it was just creating a lot of tension, angst, and like feeling unfulfilled and disappointed, where I think that it's like I want to get this done before I leave today. And then it actually was very fulfilling because you'd be working until 9:30, 10 at night, and you're just like on another level. Adrenaline's pumping, like you have all the endorphins, you're listening to music, like nothing can stop you, and you're going to go until you get it done. And it's a very fulfilling, gratifying feeling, but that's more for me. And I think that there's a more important shit than that. And you can get that, if that's what you need in life, you can get that in other ways, healthier ways than working. So I try not to let like the need and the desire for that feeling to manifest itself through my work anymore, because I think that's how I got sick a couple of times. So yeah, I set a goal for the day. Ideally, I get that done. If I get it done early, I'll try and chip off a few other things. If I get it done early and I don't have stuff to finish for the day, I'll leave and I'll pick it up. So I have all my running around that I typically will do on the way home. I'll get it done, just get home a little early. I'll mow the lawn, whatever I have to. There's always stuff to be done.
What about the relationship between you and Rachel as far as like your time on site? How do you structure that? How do you like what's the communication style there?
So I'm not spending as much time on the job these days as I did. So anything is better than what it was before. But Rachel has always been wonderful and never given me a hard time. She understands how I function as a human being and what gives me anxiety. And I've learned over the years that I don't schedule something for after work because no matter what it is, I'm stressed all day. Like with, I have to get this done before I leave. And then I'm flipping out because I didn't get it done. I want to stay longer. So I don't schedule meetings for after work. I don't schedule doctor's appointments for after work. The only thing is like the kids have something for school or something for softball. That's like the only thing that'll give me anxiety that I need to be. I like being able to go to work and being like, in a worst case scenario, I could stay as late as I want and it's not going to be an issue for me, the homeowners, or Rachel. And like, I don't do that, but just having that peace of mind is really good for my like mental, physical, emotional well-being. Just, worst case scenario, I can stay and get done what I need to. I don't do well where it's like I need to be done this by this time, because then I get kind of maniacal and I like turn into somebody else and I just become an absolute beast and like I'm in my own world. And you can rack up a lot of hours that way, which is, I mean, you're making money, but it's not healthy.
Right.
So as far as communication with Rachel, she typically handles the household. She does the laundry. She does the tidying. We have a cleaning lady, team, husband and wife. But she'll get everything ready. She gets the girls ready for camp when she goes away. She has like outfits planned out. And then I kind of take care of the upkeep of the house, the business, the financial aspect of things. So that's kind of how we balance it. I don't do laundry. I don't do much of the dishes, cleaning the kitchen, anything like that. So she handles all of that. She'll do more cooking these days because I'm doing less. But yeah, she's always been great with that and doesn't give me a hard time because she knows that like I'm already putting enough pressure on myself. For her to put more is just a waste. Like she does, it's just double punishment. And she's like, I know he's already torturing himself. There's no sense in me doing it. I'm just going to handle what I can handle at home. And she'll ask for help when she needs help, but
Totally.
she's pretty self-sufficient and doesn't give me a hard time about that. So during my day, I'm putting on headphones, noise canceling headphones. I'm working pretty much straight through the day. If it's tasks that require a lot of mental engagement, I'll listen to music all day, just in the background, all different music, and just have something going. It kind of lifts my spirits. I've always loved music. I've always loved listening to music, finding new music, listening to old music.
What's on your playlist right now?
Probably stuff for the girls because I've been driving them.
What you're listening
I've been
to.
driving them to camp the past few days, so I have some like Miley Cyrus, Billie Eilish. A lot of it's late 90s, early 2000s, like punk music, a lot of smaller bands. I don't listen to like a ton of older music. I just had the girls listening to Sublime in the car the other day, but for me personally, like the pinnacle of music for, I guess, what would be my generation, which isn't like amazing music, but it was like the 1994 era. If you're listening to like standard cultural music where you had like kind of the grunge scene tapering off and then leading into like early Green Day pop punk type of stuff, Stone Temple Pilots at that point, like that for me is like the music of our generation. I don't listen to a ton of that. I listened to a lot of stuff when I was like in high school, like smaller pop punk bands that were very accessible because that's what I liked about them. So I still listen to a lot of that stuff. I don't listen to a ton of new music. I think a lot of it just sounds the same to me. maybe that I sound like a really old person, but I don't listen to a ton of new music.
Yeah.
So I don't listen to a ton of rap. When I was younger, I actually listened to like a fair amount of country music, like George Strait, Garth Brooks, Gary Allen, like late 90s stuff. And I'll still throw that on every now and then, but I can't get down with the new like pop country to me. It's just too broy. Like everyone posted in the summertime and it's like living for the weekend. I'm like, yo, you live at home and you're unemployed right now. Like, how is this song even speaking to you? I don't know. It's not really my forte, but I like something with a faster pace. Doesn't have to be upbeat, but it just a little harder.
Are you a singer?
Am I a singer? Yeah, dude, I sing all day when I work. And I have on noise canceling headphones, so like I'll tell my customers like you're gonna hear me singing. So yeah,
Please don't film me.
yeah, but like a lot of so I'm always isolating my spaces too. So when I come out, they'll be like, "Oh, you're like really singing it today," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, sorry about that. I can shut up." But they don't hear anything. They they just
funny.
hear my voice singing, probably terribly and off key. So I eat my lunch typically like between 1 and 3. I'd probably say if I had to cut it down, it'd be like 1:30 to 2:30. And I mean, I can get into what I'm eating for breakfast and lunch right now if you think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think all of this is interesting. It's always like you always kind of want to know how someone else structures their day and like the little things that they're doing and why.
So I'm 36 now. I'll be 37 in January, and probably the past 2 years, when I turned around 35, I started feeling not older, but like I couldn't operate the way that I did from the time I was 16 until 34. Like from 16 till 34, I could eat whatever I want. I could get as little sleep as I wanted. I would remain healthy. I wouldn't be tired. I didn't have any like weird headaches or getting sick, and then around 35, even like from a metabolism perspective, my metabolism started to slow down. For like up until then, I could eat whatever I wanted, however I wanted, and it would be no issue. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I did until I was like 23. At 23, I decided I didn't want to anymore. So it's been 13, going on 14 years of kind of adopting that lifestyle, which has been, I think, contributes a lot to kind of being able to maintain a healthier and like, I guess, healthier lifestyle, remain in better shape.
So I'm going to ask the question because a lot of people ask this question or have this question. When you gave up alcohol, why? Like, why?
So my entire life, I've had pretty severe anxiety. At times it's worse. At times it's better. And a lot of times other things in my life are affected by that. Like if I'm doing well and I'm not anxious, I would put on 5-10 pounds. When I'm anxious, I lose weight. So like I always have kind of fluctuated based on my mental well-being. And growing up, I was one of 5. There was not really much emphasis put on self-care, ensuring that mentally you're in check. It was just like survival. Keep your head above water. My parents had 5 kids in 6 years. They were my dad was self-employed and ran kind of 2 businesses, so it was just hectic. It was really just survival. For my parents too. So my whole life I had a lot of anxiety. I would wake up with like panic attacks, was just always very nervous, and I didn't ever know what it was. I just thought it was normal. It was never addressed. So when I was going to college and after high school, where you're getting all that pressure that you need to figure out what you wanted to do, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, I started like really wondering why I felt this way. And I would go out and I would party and it would feel better, and then the next day I would feel worse, and then it'd be like, well, I'm not going to do that again. And then your friends would call you up, be like, we're going so-and-so. And I'd be like, all right, cool. Like I said, I wasn't going to go out tonight, but I'm going out tonight. And I just like, screw it. I can do the rest of that shit later. And I would go out and we'd go hang out. I feel wonderful. I wake up the next day and feel like dog shit. So I started going to my parents had tried when I was, 16, where I guess my anxiety started getting worse. I started looking into therapy and talking to someone and then trying different medications. And finally at 23, I'd met Rachel. We were not engaged yet, but like things were getting serious. We talked about having a family, about starting a business. I was almost done with college because I dropped out for a while and then transferred back to a longer program. And I just realized like everything that I'm trying to sort out in my life and trying these different medications and going to doctors to get my anxiety in check, I'm like, this is counterproductive doing what I'm doing. And I had always thought that like I would love to cut alcohol out of my life entirely just because I saw what life was like growing up as an adolescent, and it was just like so heavily focused on partying and getting shit-faced, and like that was the norm, and it really scared me a lot that like societally that was just accepted. So I'd always had these like grand plans of not drinking, but it was just like that's what everyone did, so I did it as well. And so when I right after I turned 23, one of my brothers had like a very serious addiction and got sober, and I was like, you know what, when he checked himself into a rehab, I like all of the anxiety about how it was just accepted and it was justified by what your parents did and what other people were doing. And I was like, I want to clean my life up. Starting this business, I'm getting engaged. We're going to get married. I'm going to have kids. I had a very good friend who passed away in a drinking and driving accident when I was 20. So like all of this came together, and I was like, I'm just going to give this up. And I just did it when my brother got sober. I was like, I want him to be able to come out of this and have a safe place or a safe person. So that's when I stopped. And it was it was definitely the best thing, like for physical and mental well-being that I had done in my life. I had all of the anxiety and the issues that I was having. They didn't get better when I stopped drinking. They got worse because I didn't have any sort of coping mechanism. So for the first time in my life, I didn't have a distraction to help me cope with it or not focus on it, like distract me from it. So I really had to address a lot of internal issues, and I still am to this day, but like 23 to 25 was a very trying time for me, because I really had to focus on what was creating the feeling and the environment and the emotional and mental state of myself. So it definitely got worse before it got better.
Let me ask you this: do you still have to work towards not drinking?
No, I don't have to work towards not drinking. Like it's not anything that I want to do anymore.
Like there's no desire.
No, it's not like I think like I'm in a situation. I'm like, do I want a beer? Do I not? Like I don't. And especially like having kids really solidified that. Again, I had a buddy who died when he was 19. And an issue I always had with drinking was like we would drink with my dad, and I would always justify, well, like, I don't know, I drank with dad and it was like a Thursday night and it was cool. And it was normal. Like it wasn't anything crazy, but like I would justify a lot of shit that I was doing in life because other people did it too. And I'm like, well, how can it be wrong if this many other people are doing it? So when I had kids, I was like, oh my God, my kids will never see me drink alcohol. Like I will never be responsible for them getting in a car and being like, it's okay to drive tonight because I've seen daddy have a couple beers and then drive. Like they will never see me have a beer in my hand and then get in a car and drive. And to me, like I would stop drinking 10 times over again to be able to live with that on my conscience. Like I will never set that poor example for them. they will never have that in their back pocket where they can justify something that I did with alcohol to be able to do it on their own. So like after having kids, if there were any hesitation as to whether I wanted to kind of stay on that route, like having kids, I'm like, nope, they'll never. And like, I'm super proud of that. It's not something I walk around with every day, like pumping my chest out, but
Sure.
like to know that they'll never be able to justify anything alcohol related, like because they saw me do it and get away with it, is like a huge anxiety that's lifted off of my shoulders. So yeah, day to day, I don't think about drinking. If people are drinking, for me, it's more so that like people just get more annoying when they drink. I mean,
you and I had a conversation about this recently.
Yeah.
And how it's becoming something that I find annoying in my life.
And when you're not drinking and other people are, it's like, it's way worse.
Yeah.
So like people would kind of annoy me when I was drinking and they were drinking, because I'm like, why are you so close to me and spitting on me and you like smell? And then when you're sober or like not drinking and somebody does that, it's like, you guys are so dumb right now. Like we went to a wedding last year in Lake Tahoe, and I don't know, we hadn't been in the wedding game for probably 7 years, and like it was before our friends had kids, and it was Rachel's friends, so Rachel's older than me, and it was a lot of people who are older than me, and I've never seen people more shit-faced than this like all-adult wedding, you know, where people are 35 to 45 years old and have kids who are back at the hotel or back at home. And it was like drunker than I've ever seen 17, 18-year-olds. And I'm like, it never stopped. Like from 16, they don't stop. It just like keeps getting worse. And like you look around, you see 60-year-old people who like, they're living for the weekend, man, listening to pop country, being like, I can't wait to crack this beer open. Like go to the lake and hang out on the boat and drink beer. And it doesn't end. So yeah, that is a decision that I made in my life, that anyone who wanted to do that because you think you have a problem, because you want to try something different, because you want to get healthier, I fully support and endorse that and will help you however you like. If you want to get into a program to get sober, don't turn to me. That's not like my whole thing. That's not why I chose to stop drinking. There's definitely better outlets for that. But if you're looking to go that path in your life, like try it. It'll be one of the best decisions that you've made, whether you drink a lot or you drink a little. It's just a much healthier lifestyle, I believe.
So, I want to get back to your routine, but in lieu of alcohol, you do drink soda.
Not a ton. Like
I at least in like when I hang
if
out
I
with
go
you,
out if I go out to eat or like out in like a social setting where people are drinking, I'll have like a soda. Yeah.
Right. Which I find like fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of like Mormons that when I'm with them, like they order Diet
Yeah.
Coke.
So for me, it's caffeine, right? And like
Right.
I don't love all the sugar that's in Coke. So it's like, I don't know. I know a lot of people who don't drink who will drink like soda water with a lime, so it looks like they're drinking a drink. And like I'm not trying to look like I'm drinking a drink. I just like I want something to drink, and like I like caffeine, and it's weird. I feel like it's weird to drink hot coffee all night. And,
I was gonna say it's like in lieu of coffee.
Yeah.
But it's also it's always funny to me, and it's completely irrelevant. But it's like that shit's worse for you.
Oh yeah.
And it's like it's so much, but that's not the point. It's not like, of course, it's not about the health side of it. It's like if you wanted something healthy, you would drink something
for
healthy.
sure. I could have a water.
Right. And it's the social aspect of it, but it's funny how soda becomes that replacement for people.
Yeah, but I'm also not going to have like, I'm not going to drink a case of soda, right? And then get in a car and it's going to make me drive weird. Like,
right. I mean, it might because you have to piss your pants, or diabetic shock.
Yeah.
No, so of course it's like otherwise you would drink
exactly.
like if you went out to brunch and everyone's drinking mimosa, it's like, well, I'm gonna have coffee
Yeah,
because I
exactly.
like caffeine.
But like,
you know?
I could also, if I'm out for, say we're out and it's like a 6-hour dinner and after dinner type thing, like I could have 4 sodas and like, if I just sat there and drank 4 coffees the whole time, it'd be too much coffee. Yeah. So that's why soda is.
It would just be too much.
Yeah, it'd just be too much coffee.
So let's go back to your routine. So you've kind of walked through. The week,
lunch and breakfast. I'll tell you that.
And lunch and breakfast.
So that was where I was going when like 35. My metabolism changed. My weight has been fluctuating. I started riding dirt bikes again, just looking to get in better shape and looking to eat better. So around Rachel's birthday, which would have been mid-May, I just felt like just not good, kind of bloated, not having a ton of energy, and just was like, I feel like I need a cleanse. And I think it was like my way of thinking there was going to be a quick, easy fix to this, where it's like, yo, I can do a week and I'll be back to my fighting weight, like ready to go to the beach. So I decided, I was like, yo, I'm gonna do. I like to eat. I eat a fair amount. I'm not somebody who can just like you're eating a banana right now, like eat a banana for breakfast and then be perfectly fine. To the
This is my third breakfast.
So I was like thinking I'm going to do something that's going to be very impactful and like shock my system back into shape, and then I'll be good to go. And I started eating, and this is not like a diet or anything I looked up. It was just like, this is what I'm going to do. Primarily raw fruits and vegetables, supplementing with like protein powder, almond butter, like healthy fats and stuff, and have less meat in my life. Like less, even you eat vegetables at home, they're always like sauteed and oil and salt. And I wanted something cleaner, and this just felt clean to me. So I'd make like shakes with them, and basically, a lot of spinach, carrots, celery, just all sorts of raw fruits and vegetables, and then like not really worry about how much I was eating of them, but I would make them in shakes, and I still do. And I'll make one for breakfast and one for lunch and bring it with me to the job. Some nights I'll have that for dinner. Some nights I'll eat whatever we're all having for dinner. Some nights I'll go out to eat, but I at least try and eat 2 meals a day of raw fruits and vegetables. And for the first time, which listeners may actually notice this, but I, for my entire life, have never been able to breathe. Always coughing, always clearing my throat, just like asthmatic, always like my throat's closing, getting sick a fair amount, and just never had good lungs. And like my parents never had good lungs, and it's been my whole life. I'm allergic to all sorts of pet dander, and like we have dogs in the house. So it's just like, that's just the way it is. I work in construction. I get in my truck, I start coughing. I cough all day long because I can't breathe. And so my diet of eating this way, by the end of the week, I'm like, yo, I can breathe. Like I don't feel short of breath. And so I'm like, I'm going to do another week of this. And I was like, I can really breathe. Like I'm not coughing. I'm not feeling sluggish. I don't feel sick. So I realized, I talked to a couple people who, some tattooers who eat vegetarian for other reasons and less processed foods. And they're like, yeah, there's all sorts of like steroids and stimulants in food that just like work if you have, sensitive lungs, like that's where it'll show. And probably since May, listeners have noticed that like I'm not dying coughing on every podcast. So that for me was like, damn, this is actually making a change in my life. So I've stuck with that since like May, and lost a ton of weight. I'm sure a lot of it was water weight and just like retaining water. I don't eat as much salt anymore. On the weekends, I'll eat, kind of whatever. I'm not going to be like turning food away or not have dessert with my kids or not get ice cream with them. But I'm just making an effort to eat healthier, at least for 2 meals a day. And I started exercising. So that has changed a lot in my life. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, like, I wake up every day just ready to conquer. Like, I'm still fucking tired. Like, I'm still crabby. I still feel like shit some days. But I do feel healthier in general. And I don't.
How much weight have you lost?
So I started exercising more. So I put on a little bit of weight from that. But I probably lost around 25 pounds now.
That's a lot of weight.
Yeah. And again, like when my starting point was like, we went out to eat with friends for Rachel's dinner. I went out to this restaurant where it's like small plates and heavily seasoned. And the next day I woke up and like I had to cut my wedding ring off because I was like, I probably ate so much. Like my wedding ring was from when I was 25, right? So 11 years ago, I was 175 pounds then. And when my anxiety was really bad. So it was like very thin for me, and it's been too small. Like I couldn't get it off for 5 years, but I woke up and I was like, yo, this is actually hurting. So I cut my wedding ring off and I was like, fuck this. And that's when this like all kind of started.
How did you cut it off?
Dude. So, all right, this is turning into like a way longer podcast than I thought, but whatever. You want the whole story? Rachel and the girls go up to sleep. I'm sitting on the couch. This is the next day after the dinner, so we had like a full day. And I'm on the couch, and I'm like, my ring feels a little bit tight today. So I try and slide it off, and I'm like, nope, not coming off. And then I'm like, I'm going to go put my hand in ice water. So I put my hand in ice water. I try and pull the ring off. Still won't come off. So at this point, I'm like, fuck, I want to get this ring off just to prove that I can get this ring off. Like, I don't need to get it off at this point. So I'm watching YouTube videos. It's like 10:30 at night now. People putting dental floss, under there.
Yeah.
Nope, won't come off. At this point, my finger is so fucking angry and swollen and red and like broken blood vessels from me screwing with it. Like that, I'm like, my ring really hurts now. Like I've really fucked my finger up that it's pissed. Yeah. So I was like, 12 at night, I was like, I got to get this thing off. So I just went out to my truck and my tool belt and grabbed my like dikes, my angle cutters, and just snipped it off. And then I ordered like a gold silicone ring, which is like too big on me now. It like floats on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened. But I think, that was like, I feel like I was just retaining water and had eaten a bunch of salt and like went out to eat a couple nights in a row and just felt super gross. So that's when that all started. And again, I don't feel like a completely changed human, but I can breathe for the first time in my life, and exercising feels good. Like my body feels good. The main reason for exercising was just to get stronger dirt biking, be able to build up stamina, ride for longer, push my pace some. And I wanted some endurance training, so I started riding stationary bikes, started running some, and it's been fun to just see the progression of your body physically, but also like looks wise, but also just be like, hey, I could run 2 miles then, and I felt like I was going to die, and I could run 3.5 miles now and not feel like I'm going to die. And I don't necessarily love the exercise portion of it, but I like seeing the progression and just getting better at things. For me, that's like very gratifying. So Rachel's been exercising since the pandemic, so it's something that we can do together now. Like we've gone on a couple of runs together, which is like, never thought we'd be that couple. It reminds me of the video you see on Facebook around like Christmas time where the couple's running in the ice and they're like, oh, it's just so amazing underfoot. It's so cushioned, and then they turn around and go to run, and the girl just eats it on the snow and like smacks her head. But yeah, so it's been cool to see that progression, and my riding has really gotten a lot stronger, and I've been able to push my So I'm happy with all that. I'm not going to become like a world-class runner or anything, but I like feeling better.
Yeah.
So I get done work. I run whatever errands I need to, typically after work. Like on my way home, I'll just stop off at a supplier, pick up what I need for the next day. And then if I need to unload my truck, I'll unload my truck. And then I'm trying not to work at night. Selby's getting older. She has softball practices. I'm helping a little bit with coaching that. So I like to be free for that. I try and exercise. I'm not like a huge wake up early in the morning exercise person. So a lot of times I exercise at the end of the day. Sometimes even before bed. I shower at night. We try and have dinner as a family every night, whether we're eating all the same thing or not. We're at least getting to the table at the same time and like have a mutual time for dinner, which is hard sometimes with everything that's going on. But I also try as much as I can to actually like get the girls in bed and spend a few minutes in bed with them, whether it's reading to them, just sitting with them while they read, reading on my own, just so I'm there for them. I have this, I don't want to regret that. You're never going to get that time back. It's always so fleeting. And I want to be able to do it. And I don't want to look back on life and be like, I wish I had spent more time laying in their bed. So I do try and get in bed with them, and spend, 10, 15 minutes with them in bed. And then I don't watch TV really. I don't watch like movies or TV shows. I'm not that consistent with it. So a lot of times at night I'll listen to baseball on the radio or like with one headphone in. So that's kind of, like a decompression for me. I enjoy I think that there's an art to kind of commentating and narrating a game and like the visual picture. It's like when somebody reads an audiobook, there's people who do it really well and people who like don't make you want to stick around. And I think that really good baseball announcers have a great way of like painting the picture almost better than you watching it with your own eyes.
Yeah, it's almost like it makes it more fun.
Yeah,
because you're getting to like imagine it the way that is interesting to you.
It's like, I don't know. I think it's very like classic to me, and I guess that's like the whole romance thing where you think of like an old man sitting on a porch listening to a radio, like an old beat up radio with like an antenna and listening to the baseball game. And I think that a lot of the delivery and the cadence of the game, it hasn't changed over 100 years. And there's a lot of BS on TV and the ads in the stadium and the players' walkouts and what they're wearing. And like, I don't need to see it. Like just listening to the game it's good for me. I'm not getting overstimulated. And then my last thing is typically I like when I get in bed to spend a couple of minutes just like bullshitting on my phone. If I go on Instagram, Facebook, watch YouTube videos, that's like my last thing before bed is I'll take 20 minutes, a half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it needs to be, and just completely waste time,
mindless.
Just like I want to be an ignorant, like ignorance is bliss. Like I just want to sit here and not care. It's like my guilty pleasure. So I'll just sit there and just, whether I watch dirt bike stuff, follow a weird Instagram account, go on like a YouTube binge search. A lot of it really is just learning whatever I'm doing, even with starting to run. It's like looking up how to run safer, how to run better, how to build endurance, how to not have sore knees. So I like that time of day as kind of like for me to educate myself on stuff that is not paying me. Weekends, I don't work. So that's just strictly family time. And I try and ride at least once a weekend. And that's typically like getting to the woods by 8, leaving the woods by around 2. So it ends up being a pretty full day. Clean up when I get home, unpack, and then like the rest of the weekend is devoted to family and kind of decompression. And that's my fix for the weekend, whether it be Saturday or Sunday. I like need that every weekend. Rachel's fully aware, like, what day are you riding this weekend? Go out, blow off some steam, not worry about my phone, kind of get into that flow state and just burn some energy up. And then like that sets me up for the rest of the weekend. I can be completely content sitting at home, just hanging out, doing nothing. And I got my fill. But I guess I just want to stress there that like I'm at a point in my career and life that I don't, I'm not going on estimates after work. I'm not bending over backwards for people who want to like waste my time on jobs. And that's not being cocky. It's just like I've done it for too long and there's more important things in my life than like running and putting together bids for somebody who's never going to hire me. Like I'd rather spend that time with my family. So I've set boundaries and I'm good with that. I have hobbies that I like. I feel like I'm getting in better shape and stronger mentally and physically. And my work is my work. The podcast is the podcast. I have like all these separate outlets. And I try not to blend them as much. And I think I found a decent balance of things over the past 6 months or so, which has been good because the world's a bit of a shit show right now. So that's about it. Like I said, Rachel takes care of most of the house stuff, tidying, groceries, girls, all that. So I just have to make sure that my side of the street is clean. But that's a life a week in the life of me.
I feel like I learned a lot.
Did you?
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, I definitely didn't know that you listened to baseball.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like all the time.
Like on a regular basis.
Yeah, every day.
Like, do they even play baseball? I mean, they got it, right?
Almost every day. They'll have like one day, not even one day off a week. It'll be like one day every other week off. It's just something like a lot of times it winds up being background noise. Like I'll just have one headphone in because nobody else wants to listen to it.
Sure.
But then
no, I get that.
Even like we ran some errands yesterday. I told you we left the girls at home and like I listened to the pregame and I find it interesting, like the analysis, the stats, sometimes even more so than the game. But I don't listen to like other games. I like listen to Phillies games. And that's something for me that like consistently I do. And I have, for years. But yeah, it's something every day that like, I don't know. It's like coffee, right? Like you just look forward to that. And sometimes it's not as good as you think. And sometimes it's better. But it's just like, it's always there.
Right. And now I know when I get all those random DMs of
late
random shit on Instagram, you're
I'm
laying in bed.
Oh yeah, it'll be like a lot of times like the same account. I'll be like, I just found this account and it's so weird right now. I'm not gonna send this out like 6 of them in a row.
Sometimes we both do it, but sometimes we send some weird shit. It's like, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider what you and I share to be fairly normal compared to like what some people send me. I'm like, how is this on the internet right now?
That I would agree.
Not even from like a vulgar perspective or anything. Like I'm not really down with that crap. Like some of it, like rudimentary, like just crass humor, fine. But just like random shit that people post and put up, and I'm like, how did you, like, again, there's phones out that document this shit, and I'm like, this just shouldn't ever be this should stay with you and your dog in the living room, and nobody else should ever see this because it's just freaking weird.
Yeah, let's leave it at that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, dude. Well, next week I'll let you interview myself. I didn't have to do much question asking. You gave us a good rundown of what a week in Tyler Grace's life.
I tried to take some notes. It's not.
I saw you looking at your.
I didn't want to
there.
miss anything important.
Well,
not that any of it's really that important, right?
Well, no, I think I'm actually, me personally, and I know that even from a content perspective, people are really interested in how someone manages their routine.
Yeah.
It's very weird. There's like stats out there that and you see a lot of creators doing this, is that they're doing these, you know, like getting like, here's my morning routine.
Yeah.
And I find it so bizarre. And then next thing I know, I'm watching someone's morning routine video.
For sure.
And it's just like, wait, why did I just watch that? I came across this. I forget what the hell he does. I want to say he's like, I want to say he owns like a hair salon or something. And I don't know why I followed him, or maybe I didn't. Maybe he was on my Explore page. And he's like, this is my morning routine. And next thing I know, I'm like 20 minutes into this video. And this is a prime example. In the video, this is embarrassing. In the video, he like gets out of the shower. I'm using air quotes, right? And he takes his towel and he goes, and I dry my hair. But you never want to dry your hair really rough. You want to take your hair and like kind of pat dry it. And I remember watching that video, and I remember I shit you not, I got out of the shower that day.
That's right.
And I thought about that, and I was like, maybe this guy's onto something. And I patted my hair dry, and I'm like, no, this is like, how was I that influenced by this guy? Like, you know, like, don't ruffle your hair up. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and maybe it's true, but I was like, it's just like the influence.
Yeah, I mean, everyone like is a professional online and an expert online. You have to take everything with a grain of salt. I am not telling anyone by any means to adopt my lifestyle that it's going to be manageable or the right move for you.
Right.
If I don't know, routine, I think as humans we do like routine, even if it's difficult. Like, we like certainty, we like routine. I think that if you develop and kind of embrace and cultivate these habits and good routines for you and for your children, you end up looking forward to them. Like, it's a certainty in your life. You know, again, like coffee in the morning. Like, if I didn't have coffee in the morning, it's almost the entire act and like precursor leading up to the coffee, and like the whole process of making the coffee, or if you're going and buying coffee, and that experience is more than the coffee itself. Like the first sip of coffee and all that, and the aromatics, and like by the end of the cup of coffee, it like you almost don't need to finish it. But I think that if you establish these habits and these routines in your life, it's something to look forward to. If you like to get up early and you like to read before you go to work, or Nick, you like to work out before you go to work, teaser, spoiler alert, that's something, right, that like you're going to sleep and you're looking forward to the next day. Like, I'm pretty excited to get up and hit the gym. And I think, like I said, in a perfect world, I would go to sleep at the same time and wake up every day at the same exact time. I'm still working on adopting that, 36 years later. But I think that establishing some healthy routines, some hobbies in your life, some stuff aside from work is really good for mental health, for anxiety, for your family, to create that balance, because we all say that we create a balance, and I think that we tell ourselves that, and it's never going to be
define balance.
Yeah, it's never going to be a 50-50 balance, but like,
no,
if it's 90-10 work to like social, if that's what you need, that's balance. It doesn't need to be what's on one side of the scale. It doesn't need to equal out what's on the other, or equate to what's on the other side. But you need to integrate some shit other than work. And I didn't do that for 15 years almost. And I'm much happier now, much less stressed, much less anxious, much more confident than I have been basically for my entire life. So I feel like I'm in a good spot. And I know that my kids and my customers and my wife and my dogs and everyone around me definitely appreciates that, and I appreciate it. So yeah, if you take away anything from this, just figure out something that works in your life and stick to it and work at it, and don't be afraid to try some new things, because you might like them a lot more than you realize that you do.
Good advice, dude.
Thanks, man.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.